So my guest today is Chris McNally, and you know him from many things. One Calls a Heart, he plays Lucas Bichard. He's also been in a dozen of your favorite shows out there. He's even won awards for his acting. He's a bit of a mystery man, just like his character, Lucas Bichard. You can look him up online and you won't find very much. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to today is finding out a little bit more about Chris McNally. I know he loves nature, he loves dogs, but what else is there? In this podcast, we dive into a little bit more of some things maybe you didn't know about Chris McNally. So for now, please subscribe and leave a review and turn on your notifications, and then sit back and enjoy my conversation with Chris McNally. All right. Well, there he is. There's Chris McNally. Welcome to my podcast, buddy.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It's good to have you. You look all styly there with that pillow. Is that like that pillow next to you? Yeah. You have one of the most styly lofts that
Thanks.
Certainly I was in Vancouver when I was there.
I appreciate that. This pillow has gone for it comes from where did I get it? Is it the Rose Bowl flea market?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of pillows there. It's a great place. You got to go so early though. I went like 6 a.m.
I know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So that you can get the good stuff because everything gets picked so fast. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. So listen, I was trying to. You're a mystery man. I was trying to look you up. Like most people, when I do their intro, I'm like, you know them from this, and this, and I can do that, and I can list all of your credits, and you've got a ton of them. But then so many other people have all these things online to like learn about, and it's like impossible to find anything. You know, I found that you won some awards for best actor at this film festival and some of your earlier projects, but like, I know you obviously personally, and I know some things about you, but online you're a mystery man. Why is that? And how?
I do like, I like to keep my personal life private and keep that off the internet, but I guess other people just aren't curious.
I don't know.
All there is to it.
I don't know about that. Well, because you're from around Vancouver, and just tell us a little bit, like where you were born and how you grew up. Like, do you have brothers, and did you grow up in a film family?
Yeah, I can talk about that for sure.
I do. Is that too personal?
What's up?
Is that too much?
No, that's fine. I do have a little running joke going with myself though, that the internet doesn't know how old I am. So I'm not going to say what year I was born, because I want to see how long it'll last before it becomes correct and is right. I think they might have my birthday right now, but the year isn't correct. But quick side note, I was talking to Kevin about this, who we work with, Kevin McGarry, and he's like, because I think at the time it said I was born in like 1993 or something. And I was like, this is great. I'm so young. And he's like, well, at least you're alive. I died in 1975.
Right. Yeah.
He brought it up, Kevin McGarry, and it's his picture. It said he was born in like 1906 or something and died in 1975. And that was pretty funny.
It's always disheartening to look online and it'll say on the top searches, when did Paul Greene die? And it's like, wait, what? Why is that there?
That's what Google puts in? It finishes.
No. But in like under your name, I haven't seen it lately, but it's usually net worth, like what their net worth is, who their spouse is, and there's like, are they alive?
Right.
Yeah. Wonder.
That's funny.
So you grew up in that part of British Columbia?
So yeah, I grew up in North Vancouver, but I actually was born in Scarborough, Ontario, and then believe I was around one. I don't know. My parents would correct me on that. I'm not if I'm right or not. But when I was very, very little, they had both graduated from college together and were having trouble finding jobs in the market in the Toronto area. So they thought, let's try the West Coast. And so they came out here for a test run for a year, and had heard about how great the mountains were, and how, you got the ocean right there, right beside the mountains, how green and lush it is. And I remember them telling me that it was like just cloudy every day, consecutive downpour, raining. And they're like, I don't know about this. It seems real dreary. I don't see, like, there's no mountains. It's just clouds. And then the clouds broke, and they're like, oh my God, they're right here. These mountains have been here the whole time.
Right.
I just couldn't see them. So anyway, they loved it here. I think they really enjoyed it. They like the lifestyle, the city, the nature. I think it was, it's a smaller city than being in and around Toronto.
Yeah.
It's also a lot farther away from my grandparents, which I think for my mom was important, because I think they were driving her a little crazy. And then they stayed, and my brother and sister were both born here in North Vancouver. So I have my brother's the youngest, and my sister's in the middle, and I'm the oldest.
Awesome. Are they actors too? You might have told me, but I forget. Are they in the business at all? Your brother is, right?
They're not. Well,
Your cousin is.
My cousin is.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin is. And when my brother was little, he was a very cute kid. I mean, he's a cute adult now too, I say. But he was really adorable, and he did some commercials and whatnot when he was smaller. But then I don't know if he decided he wanted to try something different, or if he just kind of lost interest. I'm actually not sure what the exact answer is on that. But in any case, he kind of moved on to other things and is no longer involved. And my sister wasn't ever interested, that I know of. I think that we got a really adorable picture of her doing some kind of, I don't know if it's like a McDonald's ad or something. She did some modeling shots when she was really tiny too. Cute kids. Proud to say I come from a family of cute kids.
Yeah.
And then my cousin, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, your cousin I met on that like a virtual Comic-Con. Someone on there was like, this is Chris's cousin, and he was borrowing something of yours that you had to get back, like something. Do you remember what that was?
No, but now I'm curious, because maybe I want it back.
No, it was something really important. Like you were borrowing it, or he was borrowing it. Like, is it a knife? No, it's something that, oh my gosh, I have to remember what it was.
Well, like, if it's a lens, let me know, because I'm missing.
No, it's a guitar. It's a guitar. It's a guitar.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do have his one of his first guitars, if not his first guitar. I think he wants it back.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember. I remember maybe he was joking, but you might want to look. You might want to check out with him.
Well, my side of that story is that he had acquired, he'd upgraded his guitars, and I was a kid and was really wanting to learn how to play the electric guitar. I just thought that would be so cool. And so he gave it to my parents, who gifted it to me. But I thought it was under the premise of it was old news. He didn't need it anymore. So I don't know. I actually missed a call. We've been playing phone tag, he and I, for about 3 weeks. Yeah. So he called me yesterday, so I got to call him back this afternoon. But I'll ask him, and if he needs that guitar back,
you should check it out. Wasn't he involved, like, writing or creating a pretty groundbreaking movie where
High School Musical?
Was it?
Is that what you're talking about?
Was he in it? Or I thought there was a film where there was a same-sex couple or something that was like really groundbreaking or something. Do you know anything about that?
It's not ringing a bell right now, but it's totally possible that I don't. I feel like as we've gotten older, we're less on top of each other's accomplishments. When you're younger and you get a movie, you tell your whole family immediately. You're like, this is so great. It's this job I want to do, and it's this, and then now you get to the point with, I don't know if you're the same with friends and whatnot, where you're like, oh yeah, your show, like, I haven't watched it, I'm sorry, but like, great, happy you're working. What is it again? Yeah. Who do you play? A magician? Nice. Yeah.
I know. Who's got the time to keep up with one another? Yeah. Now, did your parents nurture this somehow? Like, are they in the business? Are your parents in a performing arts in some way, or how?
I wouldn't say in performing arts, but they are very artistic. They both graduated from college as interior designers, and I think they're both very talented with, you know, pencils and very talented with pencils. No, what I mean to say is that they're really good artists, and they decided to channel their creativity into interior design. So
Yeah.
like my parents, I think their work is really cool. My dad was showing me just the other day his thesis project from college, and my mom got some of hers out as well. And it was really neat to see what they had done when they were 21, 22. I found them very impressive. And yeah, that was ages ago. So they've only gotten better. And I think my dad wanted to be a painter originally. And then he thought, it's tough to make a living as a painter. Might be easier to go into design. That way you still get to be creative, sort of in the same kind of, there's a little bit of overlap, but might be a more steady career choice to raise a family and whatnot. But I got him an easel recently because I thinking maybe he might want to go back and start dabbling again. But anyway, I digress. They are not necessarily performing arts, but right. I find them to be very creative people, and they were really open to anything that my sister and my brother and I wanted to do when we were little. They were totally supportive, and no pushback at all wanting to go into the arts. And I think they were, I got the vibe that they were happy about it, which I know isn't the case with everybody, and it's too bad. Right. But then, I mean, also being a little older now and looking back, I could see why you might not want your kids to get involved in film and TV. Right. But luckily for me, they were all good about it, all supportive, and I managed to. Well, so far it's working. Yeah. Who knows what will happen tomorrow?
So did you say they're both interior designers of some kind, or at least in the design? Is that why? Obviously, it's kind of an Captain Obvious question, but you have such a wicked eye for interior design and record players. I want to talk about your record collection at some point. Okay. And what your latest speakers are, and just to hear if you outgrew those incredible speakers, or if you had to go up to the next one. But we'll come back to that.
There's new ones.
There is. I knew it.
Yeah.
Why did I know it? Why did I know it? I think you'd be cheaper if you got your pilot's license and bought an airplane. Honestly, break even.
I guess maybe it depends on the airplane. I don't know. I feel like I have a friend whose sound system might be the same price as an airplane.
Yeah. Right. So let me ask you this: when you were a kid and you had your bedroom, was your bedroom? Do you remember caring about the way it looked, or did that come later on?
Yeah. And I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing?
Wait, what?
I had this. Well, I decked my whole room out with lava lamps and all these different. I had a disco light. I wanted to turn the regular lights off and have all these wild kind of crazy colors and business. And I think I ran around calling it my pimp room, and I didn't fully understand what that word meant. And my mom's like, "You shouldn't call it a pimp room." I was like, "But it's pimp. It's so cool. It's pimp." She's like, "Yeah, no, don't use that. Call it something else."
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I always liked interiors and was fascinated by how specifically lighting. And that's funny because I went into the lava lamp and disco lights and all that jazz. But lighting, I think, was the first thing that dawned on me, and how big of an impact that can have on you and your state. I'm kind of a light snob. I can't. I don't want to sound like I'm stuck up or something, but I stayed at a hotel a little while ago working on a project, and I went in, I turned on the lights, and they're all fluorescent and super bright. And I was just like, oh, I can't. It's just hard for me. It really affects me. I need nice, soft, warm lighting. And so, anyways, what was I saying?
Yeah. So you would definitely have a dimmer switch. I can't imagine your place without having a dimmer switch, right?
Yeah, I think all lights in all houses should be on dimmers. That should just be a rule. Just it's how it is.
I couldn't agree with you more. Light for me, and when you go to your place there, the way that you've designed it, you have a lot of windows, and all your lamps, they're cozy and and I'm the same way. One of my friends has those lights blaring all the time, and he comes to my house and he's like, dude, turn some lights on. But for him, it makes him sleep. makes them sleepy when the lights are low, which, you know, as the evening goes on, it's a good trick to get yourself ready to bed, to start dimming all your lights. And
yeah. Well, you know, even on your iPhone, how you have a
yeah,
night mode, right? Where it just changes. You know, it's more of a warm orange light as opposed to the blue that you're using during the day, because that blue light is a little bit hard on you in terms of sleeping. But yeah, light. So I think that was the first thing that I realized kind of really affected me. And then it transitioned, and now I'm big on space. You know, I think space really affects humans, and how you feel in how you experience said space.
Yeah.
So I've gone down a bit of an architecture rabbit hole lately, learning all about some architects in Vancouver who, during the 40s, 50s, and 60s, were, especially post World War II, and people were coming back and wanted to find more peace and kind of mental clarity, optimism at home, and integrating new houses with nature. But I'm going off on tangents now.
No. Sorry. I love that. Would you think you would have a career? I'm with you, man. I'll save you if you ever get lost in the woods. But I care about these little details, because they're actually, you know, you can't find this stuff out about you online, Chris. Would you go, if you had the opportunity, would you ever want to design for someone else? Like, let's say it was a good career, and would that light you up? Because it seems like you're passionate about it. Would you ever do it for anybody else, or just yourself?
I think I'd start doing it for myself as sort of an experiment, and seeing how that, depending on how that goes, I would do it for other people. But I think if I was to start over and look for a new, you know, go back to 17 or 15, 16, ending high school, and think about a career path, I think I'd very seriously consider becoming an architect.
Yeah.
I think that would be right up my alley. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it.
Yeah. You even were an architect with your patio over quarantine, in the sense that you changed the landscaping of and you tell us a little bit about your quarantine while we're here on this conversation, because I think we had a Zoom call with a bunch of the cast, and everyone was doing their different things, and you had totally gotten into gardening and had planted all these things. Like, was that a big part of your like medicine while you were going through quarantine?
Yeah, I think everybody's different. I need a task. I need something to be working on. Otherwise I go a little out of my mind. And I also love plants. I love greenery. I know I wanted to be, or I remember I wanted to be a landscape architect. Briefly, I was thinking about that when I was younger. And this patio out here, we're fortunate to have a fair-sized patio in the city, and it was almost completely empty because we'd moved in and we're focusing on the inside, and then winter came. And anyway, once COVID started around March of last year, and things started shutting down, one of the spaces that ended up, one of the stores that ended up staying open were nurseries, because they were primarily outdoors. So it just kind of worked out timing wise really well for us, because I could go to the nursery. It's a task, something to put my mind on, get out of the house, get some fresh air. And so now I think I was counting the other day, I have like 7 Japanese maples and 2 olive trees, and maybe it's 9 Japanese maples actually, and 2 olive trees. I think it might be 9. Anyways, I just went and a whole vegetable garden. So yeah, I just went full out. I had nothing else to do, and I really enjoyed it. It gave me a lot of calm.
And I think we ate some of your food, some of your arugula or something when we were there. So it's so satisfying. I've been getting into, have you seen The Biggest Little Farm yet? The documentary?
Yep.
Yeah. So that type of regenerative agriculture, there's a
self-sustaining farm.
It's pretty cool. Actually, here at Mar Vista Farmers Market, we went there yesterday. They're there. They have a little Apricot Farms or whatever. They have like a little booth there that they sell. And of
Really?
course, they were sold out of their chicken eggs by noon. All their chicken eggs were gone.
That's really cool. I'd love to try some of their stuff.
Yeah, but they had all the meat, like beef and all the different things, and then some herbs.
Yeah.
But Zach Bush, do you know Zach Bush?
Mm-mm.
I'll send you a podcast from him. He talks about sort of the need for us as humanity to actually, if we don't shift our farming from chemical ag to a more regenerative, we're literally creating an extinction event, like in terms
Right.
of just the way that everything works together and how sick our internal soil is, like our gut biome. It's really, really cool. I'll send you a couple.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look.
He's has a nonprofit called the Farmer's Blueprint that is actually raises money for farmers to switch from chemical to regenerative ag.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. I think you would dig him. He actually, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the biggest little farm was inspiring, very inspiring for us. Not that we're trying to make a full-on self-sustainable farm out on our patio, but just the idea of seeing how kind of self-sustainable we can be in terms of our vegetable consumption. I mean, it's not regenerative. Is that the right word? Regenerative?
Almost regenerative. I think there's an extra syllable. There might be one more syllable.
But it's going to be great to see how much less we can consume from the grocery store because we're growing it at home.
Yeah, it just feels so much better when you eat. It
tastes better too.
It tastes better. I mean, the farmer's market meal, that's because I don't have a garden at my house, but the difference in a farmer's market meal to a grocery store meal is amazing. The flavors and the way you feel too, just because it's not wrapped in petroleum plastic for weeks or months at a time. Like, it doesn't matter if it's organic and your zucchini's wrapped in petroleum for weeks, and then you take off this plastic and you're eating this zucchini. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I remember my partner, she was like, aren't you going to wash that cucumber? I was like, why? I know exactly where it came from. I don't need to wash it. There's no bugs on it. It's fine.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Unless you know something I don't, and there's stuff in the air that maybe I should be washing out, but
if your partner's a woman, so there's a good chance she knows a lot you don't.
Yeah. I think it was more just the habit of, you go to the grocery store, you have to wash all the chemicals off what you've grown.
For sure.
Sorry, what you're buying. But when it's at home and it's all natural and organic.
It was amazing in the biggest little farm how everything was grown in manure, right? And fertilizer from the worm poop.
The worm castings, yeah.
And then all the other fertilizer from the sheep and the ducks and everything. And it's just like, to think about our fruits and our vegetables, they're literally growing in that level of manure. Like without it, it's and then bones and blood. And it's like someone who's a vegan, most of their vegetables are still grown with animal products in a way. When you think about it, especially like a biodynamic farm will use bones and blood meal to grow the vegetables. So it's like they're kind of getting veg, but they're also eating an animal.
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm aware of using worm castings.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Like, there's not a pure vegetarian because what they're eating is grown in animal products. Like a lot of plant food is blood and bone meal.
Yeah.
For extra, all the minerals that would normally be
for sure
on a biodynamic farm. That's would have the animals die, and then that their bones and the carcass would feed the minerals
goes back into the earth. And yeah.
But anyway, that's a fun little side note. So you're this interesting dichotomy of super fancy, like super, like well-dressed, put together, groomed. And then like every single thing that I experienced about you has a form of style to it, but you're also this down to earth, open, like kind person. So you're not pretentious about it. Like a lot of people that have your level of specificity with design and space and light and sound and food, especially, and drinks, kind of get lost in the weeds. And from my experience with you, you've managed to balance, you're still a very you've seemed to have a separate from your mind and your design to like your ability to still communicate and be like a normal human being, because I was blown away when I saw your space. Like you walk in there and it instantly feels like you've walked into HD Buttercup here in Los Angeles, where it's just like, and then, but you're not a pretentious guy.
That's very kind.
Congratulations.
I did it.
Congratulations
no,
on not being a pretentious prick.
That's nice of you to say all those things.
Well, no, it's my experience, man. And the food you made, because we went fishing with Jack and
that was so much fun,
and Kevin and you, and we caught we caught this massive, like, how was it, 26 pounds or something? We had to put it back because at midnight it became legal, but that fish, right, we couldn't keep
the Chinook. It wasn't legal until after midnight to keep the Chinook or something like that. We were just a couple hours. No, not a couple. 7 hours too early, something like that.
The devastating thing is we put it back and I didn't see it swim. Like,
I don't think it came back up. And I remember our guide was like, he's like, no, he'll bounce back. He'll bounce back. And it just starts going farther and farther. He's like, any minute, any second. Oh shit.
Well,
and then he's like, I hate this because now we've wasted it. Now nothing is. The seals are going to get it now because no one's going to enjoy it, or it's too bad.
It was too bad. But the one we had that you made was you put it on these cedar planks in your barbecue. Where did that come from? Like, was it because your parents were like that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But I think both my parents have said to me on multiple occasions that they don't know where it came from, because not to say that they don't, they're great and they're creative, artistic people. They love food. But I have somehow developed, like, unfortunately, a taste for very expensive things that they don't know where that came from, because that's not their jam. But I have a great appreciation for nice things, which often come with a high price tag as a result of them being nice. Yeah.
Well, speaking of nice things, tell me about your record player for a second. So one of my favorite artists is Neil Young.
Yeah.
And then we come over there and you have this record, this LP of Neil, of an album I barely knew. Like and then there was this one song that you played, and you're so like me in some ways too, where you're like, I kind of was sitting not perfectly in the middle where the speakers were, and you're like, no, you got over there, because I was kind of sitting off with your guitar over here, and you're like, you got to go sit in the middle, and then and it's just this experience. It reminds me of that cassette tape TDK where the guy's like blowing back. Like, do you remember that? There's like, there's a guy.
But I'm imagining Back to the Future right now.
Yeah. It's like that. But there's these old cassette tapes. Exactly. And there's a guy with a speaker in front of him, and he's literally sitting profile, and he's like, and the sounds right there. But so how did that expensive thing land in your life?
Well, that's another thing, kind of like light. I've always really appreciated good sound. It's always been it's just a totally different experience, listening to something properly, I would say. And so I remember when it started lower on the budget scale, I'd say. Like when I bought my old 4Runner, which is my adventure mobile, the first thing I did was I went in and I got a whole new sound system put in, because I wanted to be able to I love listening to music and listening to it loud, and I want to listen to it even though you're in a car, mind you, and it's filled with glass and it's bouncing around. There's too much glass in here too for the music, to be honest, but nothing I can do about that. Anyway, so I started. I had a record player for a long time, but some of this gear can be quite expensive, and I didn't have any extra money to kind of go down that rabbit hole. And even when people start telling you how much these little pieces can cost, it's mind blowing. You're like, why would you ever spend that kind of money on a record player or equipment? But then I started kind of, and I'm not crazy about it. Some people are crazy. I wouldn't say I'm crazy, but I do have a system that I really like. But more so, it's every time I would upgrade a piece and I would kind of audition the piece, right? Like I bring it in, I'd listen to it, and in my head, I'm like, it's not going to sound that much better. So it's fine. Like I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to go, you know what? That sounds better, but it's not worth that much money. And then I plug it in and listen to it and I go,
Really?
because now I can't listen to it without it, because I've heard what it could sound like. And I just sit there thinking, I crave that experience. It's sort of like, you talked about how food, right? I love food. I really like cooking. I actually had a good chat with Kevin the other day. He gave me some, because he's a big food guy, and he gave me some great recipes that I'm excited to try. But anyways, when I'm listening to these records, I mean, it's almost like my ears are being fulfilled in the same way that my taste buds are when you're eating a really, really nice meal. Like I literally gain pleasure through my ears in this weird way. It's super satisfying, and you're enjoying this amazing music. So it brings me peace. It improves my life on a daily basis. Yeah. And I don't mind allocating some of my earnings to that for that purpose. Does that make sense?
That, I don't think I've heard anybody explain it quite that well. I love that. I love that explanation of it's like, it's your ears are like having that sensual experience, and it's satisfying. Yeah. Too. Like, let's say you were fasting, you're fasting your evening meal because you're intermittent fasting. You just go sit in front of your stereo and have one of your senses be super satisfied. I love that, man. So what kind of system is it? Like, what kind of, is there a way to?
I can walk you through what I have right now. I've got a Rega P8 record player, which I love. It's the one that I kind of had my eye on, but when I went to the shop, I thought, no, I shouldn't do that. That's irresponsible. I'll get a lower level one. And then after about 5 months, I upgraded to a middle one. And then after about a month, I was like, what am I doing? I know the one that I want. Why don't I just get it? So I returned that one and bought the P8. So that's been lovely. With a great moving coil cartridge by this company called Delos. It's a Lyra Delos cartridge. This probably won't mean anything to like 99% of people who watch this, but
no, but
for the 1% who do,
1% are going to love this stat right now.
Yeah. And then it goes into a phono stage, an amplifier for the cartridge, which is by Parasound, a JC3 Plus phono stage, which actually that's one of the pieces too that I brought home to try, and I'm like, I'm not going to need this. And once I started listening to it, the imaging, the difference in imaging was shocking to me. And for people who aren't aware of imaging, that's when you're able to hear almost in 3D where the instruments are. You can when you're listening to live music, you see people, you know where the artists are, where the musicians are, and where they're playing. But sometimes when you listen to it at home, it's emanating from one source, right? So able to get three-dimensional depth and know that the piano is 20 feet farther behind than this guitar over here, that's quite an amazing sensation. And if you close your eyes, you can almost be in the physical space, transported somewhere else. So that really brought that out, which was great. So I kept that. And then my favorite is my amplifier, which is the old tube amps, like the So it's a tube amp by Hearties, a French company, and it's like a piece of art. It's a sculpture, and I brought it home. My partner's like, what is that? Like, I've never seen anything like that before.
I saw it. I saw it, and the way it's lit, it's just gorgeous. The way it's
because each one, has a slight glow to it, right? So when the lights are all low and you see these beautiful bulbs glowing. Anyway, it's a i50. It's phenomenal. Again, I brought it home going, there's no way I'm going to like this enough to buy it. Fortunately, I did. And then going into some NOLA Contender S3 floor speakers, or floor standing speakers, which are beautiful. So I'm gonna
have to get you to send me that in a text, and I want to put it in the show notes, because I guarantee you we're gonna have a couple audio files over the life of this podcast that are going to be like, that was my favorite part of the podcast, and I'm going to make sure I have that in the show notes. But so when you when you mentioned your truck, which,
Hmm.
you know,
My
most,
adventure mobile.
yeah, and most actors when they do their favorite rooms, like, as I think there's a woman who works at LA
Oh
Times.
yeah, did you?
I saw that, and because she came to my house to do one of my favorite
Oh
rooms.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What room did you do?
It wasn't in this house or in Lake Arrowhead. It was in a previous place we were in, and you know, it was just surrounded by all the healing modalities. Like I had a beamer bed and a bed of nails, and I had like a mineral rock heat mat, but then it had my guitars and it and my piano, and so it was just sort of like
That's awesome.
the room that I got the most, and this piece of art that I really like. And the best part of the room is it's next to the kitchen where I spend all my time making food. So,
Right.
but yours was your truck, your forerunner
Yeah.
with your tent on top. So
Uh-huh.
did you grow up camping, and like, just tell me about because I know you love camping
Yeah.
and dogs.
Yep. That's me.
That's Chris.
Yeah.
When you look up Chris McNally online, it's like hidden facts. It's like camping and dogs, and now it'll be and audiophile, like,
Yeah.
and cocktails.
Oh, and food. Yeah, I love all these things and
Yeah,
plants. Um,
design plants.
so I did grow up camping. Yeah, my mom and dad used to do canoe trips. You know, they canoe out and go camping in the wilderness together. And I think for them, it was a great way to get away from the city, experience a vacation, but not have to spend a lot of money doing it. And then once they started having us, that just continued. And we didn't canoe or portage to our campsites, but we would go as a family to campgrounds around the area, and usually go several times a summer, and explore the Gulf Islands off of Vancouver and into the interior. And I really loved it. I love being outside, and so having grown up with it, it's something I continued to do, you know, as I got older. And there's a lot more gear available now than there was when I was a kid. And so when I got the Forerunner, I put some work into it. I lifted it up and kind of turned it into my zombie apocalypse car, because it's all like armored on the bottom and stuff, and armored on the front. And but I don't think I hadn't done that yet during the my favorite room piece. So I think it's just kind of in its most basic form, the car at that point. But now it's got
But it
some
had the tent. You had the
additions.
tent
But it had the
on
tent,
top.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I love the tent so much. It sets up in like, I don't know, 90 seconds or something like that. And if you've been out trekking for quite some time, and you're cutting it close to sunset, and you don't want to have to set up in the dark and fumble all around, it's so fast. I have all my bedding already laid out in there, and a self-inflating mattress. So I literally just unlock it, boom, pop it up, put the window flaps up with some rods that are just lie in the middle, like in the actual tent. So you just grab them when you open it up, and then let the mattress pop itself up. I go in there 20 minutes later and do a little like hand pump to kind of give it an extra 20-30 pumps, firm it up, and then that's it, and it's all ready to go. And you feel so safe up there. It's really neat.
Yeah.
I love camping, but I feel like still have that nightmare. Like, what if a bear just runs through my tent in the middle of the night? And you don't get that with the rooftop tent. You're sitting up, and I mean, it's like over 7 feet tall. I think it's 7'6" or something is where the bed lies. So, and you're just peering down, and you go, give it a try. Come get me.
Yeah,
Unless
come
it's
get me.
smart enough to hop up under the hood and then go through the side. But I feel like odds are slim on that.
Odds are pretty slim, especially.
No, it's great. I really, I like it a lot. And I think the dogs like it up there too.
Do
Bowie
they?
always puts his,
Do the dogs sleep in the tent with you, or?
yeah, yeah.
They're big now. I remember when you first got
Uh-huh.
them, they were these little tiny, little like baby puppies. Now they're like your size. Like your dogs are massive.
Yeah, they definitely kept growing. But we've got this routine down where I bend down and I say up, and we do one at a time, but they'll put their front paws on my shoulder, and then I scoop their butt and walk up a few steps of the ladder, and then give them a little push, and they
Awesome.
boop, pop up there. And then Bowie always gets the zoomies. As soon as he gets up there, he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he runs around and messes up all the bed sheets. I'm like, "Oh, man, at least you're having a good time."
How do they go to the bathroom when they have to? Do you have to carry him down like that too?
Well, it's kind of the same, but in reverse. I'll go
Right.
down, walk down the ladder, and stand with my kind of chest level with the bed of
Got it.
the
Yeah.
tent,
Okay.
and I say up, and they put their paws on me here, and I grab their butts, and I walk down a few steps, and then give them a little.
Yeah.
But I saw somebody recently with an idea I thought was pretty clever. They had a side window on their tent, which we have on ours, that leads. They would unroll. They took a yoga mat and they'd unroll a yoga mat and send it down the windshield and over the hood of the car, and then they just let their dogs jump out there and pop out, and they don't scratch the paint or anything like that because it's protected, and it's a little kind of off ramp for them. So I think next time I go, I'm going to give that a try and see if they'll be willing to jump up onto the bumper to the hood and then run up the racetrack inside. So I don't have to do the whole routine.
Yeah, sounds like a really smart thing to do. You got to do a little Instagram story when you do that, so we can see what you did. I know, because I know you love
if it's a success or not.
Because I know you love sharing on Instagram so much.
You know what? I feel like sometimes I share on Instagram because I feel guilty that I haven't posted anything, and I feel bad that people are following me and yet I haven't. Because it doesn't. It does not come to me on a day-to-day. Like I don't ever think to myself, "This would be great for Instagram. I should do this for Instagram." It's more like, "Oh, I haven't posted anything for Instagram for a while, and now I'm feeling guilty about that. So, yeah, I guess I should take a picture."
Yeah, I think you and I are on the opposite ends of the spectrum of things you can find out about Chris on the internet versus things you can find out about Paul on the internet. and Instagram, it's almost become like a part of my eye. Like I see something, I'd like, oh, that'd be a great thing to like post or share. It's like, yeah, it's almost been it's been a good actually outlet for my filming and photography, because I growing up, ever since I remember, I got my first little weird JVC camera. I think it was 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And I have hundreds of those little digital videotapes. Like I was always just filming everything. So it's actually, for someone who likes to make film and pictures, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, that I can get behind that. I see that, because it's almost like you're making little, little movies on the go.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of
scratching that itch.
Yeah. And then in some way, and you can get really inspired. I'm sure TikTok, I don't know if you found it yet, but there's some really,
dude, I don't even know. I downloaded it. I opened it up and I was like, what is happening? I don't even know how to navigate this. And I deleted it.
You deleted it. There's the most amazing recipes. I follow a lot of cooking people. I haven't been on TikTok in a couple of weeks because it's a time warp.
Okay.
Like Instagram, I don't scroll and look at other people's feeds. I respond to DMs and I kind of create posts. I'm not like a scroller, but on TikTok, it's
go down the rabbit hole.
It's literally, Instagram feels like a newspaper and TikTok feels like high def digital 3D laser film. Like it's a whole other thing.
Okay.
The people who make content for TikTok are very talented at making content. It's almost, and it's all right. Especially if you follow foodie stuff, like, and design stuff. I mean, people do it yourself. Like they'll design like a maple tree bed out of a rubbish, and it'll just be the coolest looking thing ever.
So is it almost like a new generation of YouTube tutorials, but in fast TikTok style videos? Like you can learn things from TikTok rather than just be entertained?
Oh my gosh, you can learn so much from TikTok, but it's also a combination of Vine, because
didn't know that.
There's people making if you remember Vine, people would make these 6-second films. Whereas Instagram, people are like, look at me in a selfie. You'll never see that on TikTok. Nobody's doing that ever on TikTok. It's more, look at what I can do and look at what I'm making. And this is what's inspiring me. There's a few.
That's interesting.
Like stripper girls, like doing these dances and stuff. But like, if you
that's
don't
what
get
I would
that,
do if I had it.
You would just set it up and start taking off your clothes. Yeah. So I find it really inspiring, but it's a time like suck. It can really.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's
so much time in the day.
Let's go back a little bit to your acting. Like when, and I really want to hear about your audition. This happened to me when I talked to Kevin. I asked about his audition. And then I think
for When Calls?
Yeah. And I think Kayla walked in and we started talking about something else.
Yeah.
And then I realized after I said goodbye, I was like, we never
Never
actually
went
heard
back.
this. So don't let me forget this story. But
Okay.
how did you get started? I think you told me, but I want our listeners to hear how you got started into acting and like, what was your first experience?
Okay. Well, I started, you know how you get older and you don't remember if you made things up or if they're actual memories? Does that happen to you?
Oh yeah, for
Okay.
sure. All the time.
So I have this memory of getting Space Jam for Christmas and sitting in front of the TV and watching it like 4 times in a row because I just thought it, possibly because it was a combination of live action and cartoon. So I saw these humans on the TV with these cartoons, and I was like, "What? How did they do that? This is a so that just blew my mind, and I thought it was so cool." And I was like, that's something I want to do. I want to tell stories with the Looney Tunes. And so um, my mom and dad were like, yeah, sure, and I think my brother had been doing commercials at that point, so they already had contacts with a local talent agent, and they decided they'd bring me on, and I was really bad. I was terrible. I think anything I booked when I was younger was just because I had a certain look that whatever ad campaign was looking for, or it was what they were looking for. Like, I think my first experience was booking this commercial where there was a product, right? They were selling some kind of product. I don't remember what it was, but the premise is stuck in traffic. There's two families stuck in the same traffic jam, and the cars kind of pull up next to each other, bumper to bumper, as they inch along. The family that has whatever product it was, it's like, I'm imagining like Beethoven playing in the car. Like, it's just utter
Yeah.
peace,
Yeah.
silent. Like, everything's great, it's pristine, clean. The kids are angels. And then
Mhm.
I was in the car that didn't have that, and they literally gave us like these foam Nerf bats, and we're like, just beat each other up with this. And so we're just like smashing each other with Nerf bats and like just having such a good time. And I thought it was great. I was like, this is cool that this is a job. Um, although it gave me a total it kind of ruined my concept of money, because I think it was what they probably paid, like, maybe, let's say it was like $2,500, right, for the commercial, for your day rate and for your buyout, because it was Canadian, so they weren't giving you residuals over time. You just got kind of one chunk, and that was it. But then I was like, this is great. Look at I got a real job. I started doing a paper route and then teaching taekwondo at the martial arts school at the street. And I think I was making like $8 an hour at the teaching. And so at the end of the month, I would work maybe 4 hours, right? Teach 4 classes and do that once a week or something, and look at my paycheck at the end of the month and go, oh my God. But I don't get it, because I just like, we just played with Nerf bats like last year and made so much more money. So that was a nice, healthy shock about the value of money. But anyway, I think that was my first experience. And then I started, I did some stuff throughout high school, but again, I was really bad. I didn't understand what acting was. Like, I thought it was just something that you did. And if you wanted to do it, you could do it. It wasn't a craft, right? Like, I didn't think it required any skill. So literally the only training I would get for that was at an audition, which I'm sure you can agree with me. It's like the worst time to be trained. That's when you should know what you're doing, go in and do your bit.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, no training whatsoever, and didn't really get any jobs with, understandably, in terms of speaking parts that weren't just like a commercial where you're smiling or doing something. When you actually have a story to tell, didn't really get much. And then finished high school, and my parents said, you got to go to school. You should go to post-secondary. What do you want to study? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And so they decided to enroll me in general studies. Let me know if I'm blabbing too much, by the way, because I feel like I'm just
No, 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 no.
Feel free to interject at any time.
This is exactly what I want to hear from you. But I want the detail. I want the little details. You're doing great. This is perfect.
Okay. So they signed me up for general business studies, and I said okay. And I chose a couple creative electives on the side that I thought I would be interested in. I was taking a studio art class and a art history class, and so started college and sitting there in like macroeconomics, calculus, or was it physics? I don't know. I couldn't stand it. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I really don't like this. And I was paying for it with some of the money I'd earned, or with all the money actually I'd earned doing those couple commercials when I was a kid. And so I just, yeah, after about like 2 weeks, I think I was just thinking, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't how I want to spend that little savings that I made when I was younger in terms of education. So I dropped out, except I kept my studio art class because I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I enjoyed my art history class. So I kept those two. I think I did a full year of those ones, and I started going to a local acting class in Vancouver that actually my mom had signed me up for a summer program a couple years prior to that. So I'd done a little crash course with them, and it was so terrifying and so scary. And I was like, I'm pretty shy. And so this was having to be vulnerable in a class. And I was realizing at this point that I really was bad at this, and that it was something I needed to practice if I wanted to do it professionally. So being shy, knowing I was bad, having to do it in front of people. And I would drive to class and my palms were just sweaty, like clammy. Like I was so nervous to go to these classes, but you're supposed to do what you're afraid of or whatever, right? Isn't that what they say?
That's right.
Kind of powered through
right.
that.
Yeah.
And then I stayed there for a while, I think a couple of years. And then I started going to some other classes in Vancouver and kind of slowly began making my way through teacher by teacher, and kind of taking things that resonated with me from everybody and creating my own little toolbox. And then bartending to pay the bills. And I had moved out at that point, so I was paying rent and whatnot. But working hard, like working 5-6 days a week. Sometimes I'd open one bar, and then I would the night bartender would come on at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I would run to the next bar and like eating on the way, and then I would take over the opening bartender from that other bar, and I would close that bar, and then I get the next morning and open the other bar. So like, mind you, that wasn't every day consecutively, but often I was doing that, and then going to classes on the weekend. So I remember having hardly any spare time at all, and people would say, I remember sometimes that an opportunity to make a new friend with somebody, right? And they say, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, and I think to myself, I have like one window that I can spend that I'm not working and not in class, and I really want to spend it with this other friend that I have that I haven't seen. And so it was strange being in this place where I felt like I didn't even have enough time to expand a group of friends, and I was already having trouble keeping up with the friends that I had. And I did that for a long time. It was
how
like
old
10
were
years.
you? How old were you at this time?
This was between, I started bartending at 19. So yeah, but probably like in my early 20s, mid 20s, into late 20s. And then I did that for 10 years and wasn't really booking work. There was times where I would go 2 years, 3 years without a single job. And even when I did get a job, it was like one day on a show, one line, 2 lines. And they were bad experiences because sometimes when you walk into a production that's moving, they've all been working together for a year or two, and they just want to get through their day. And you're this new person coming in, and it's like, you're so excited, but all they're thinking is like, don't slow us down, don't screw up, just do your job and go. And it was wasn't a friendly environment and a good experience. So then I go through this every time I go through this phase of confusion. Like, why do I like this so much? Every time I actually get a job, I get treated like crap. I'm not enjoying myself, but I loved being in class. I loved working plays. I loved the feeling of playing another person, getting kind of lost in whatever part you were playing. Yeah, I really cared about it a lot, and still do. And so after 10 years, something finally clicked, and I got a job over in Victoria. Actually, you know what it was? I was trying to get into Juilliard. I really wanted to go to Juilliard because I'd read that they were a program that would they would accept whoever they thought would do well. And if you didn't have the finances to pay for their program, they would cover it. Like, their sponsored program was great. They would make it happen. Whereas I felt like a lot of conservatories, if you don't have access to a couple $100,000, or you want to spend several, or 10, 12, 20, however many years in student debt, you got to kind of weigh those pros and cons. So I was really attracted to Juilliard for that reason, and because it was such a renowned school and a lot of people that I respected had gone there. And I just thought, what an amazing experience. And it also just gotten out of a really bad relationship that I was in for a long time, where I felt really stifled. So I was like, I want to go to New York and try and get into the school. So I went to New York, and I was there to audition. And then I got this tape come through from my agent, and it was for a show I'd never heard of. And I was like, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time. I'm doing my monologue tomorrow. I got to focus on, or my monologues. I got to put all my time into that. But I found a guy online that, just Googling, tape centers. There was a guy just a couple blocks down in Manhattan who had a self-tape studio. So I went, and we kind of threw out that tape, threw it on tape, I mean, and then forgot about it, went, did my audition, didn't get in, and was like, not that I didn't get in, I didn't even get a call back. So and that's all right, it is what it is. I did everything I wanted
to Juilliard or to the tape? No,
to Juilliard.
Okay.
And then a couple weeks later, I got a call that I booked this job, that tape, that I was like, I don't have time for this. I don't think I even learned it. Like, I think I literally was like reading on the page, and like, and somehow it went through. And turns out it was for a 3-episode arc on this Netflix show called Altered Carbon, which at the time I think was like the second most expensive show Netflix had ever done. It was a huge production, and just being involved in that carried a lot of weight for, I feel like, my reps in Vancouver, who could go to US managers and say, hey, our client Chris is doing a recurring on Altered Carbon. They're like, oh, really? Well, he must be something worth looking at then. So that ended up getting me linked in with some US managers. And then I just started booking work, back to back. I held on to my bartending job for about 4 months, longer than I had to, because I was afraid to quit. I was like, I've been trying for a decade. I this could all just disappear as quickly as it came. But eventually I wanted to move to Los Angeles. And so I quit, and I moved down there, and spent 5 months down there, and then had an audition for When Calls the Heart, which happened to go through, which brought me back to Vancouver. And that's sort of a crash course of my life.
I love it. There's so many places. There's so many places I want to go with this. Number one, 10 years. What was it that allowed you to stick to it? Because a lot of people would have given up. And then I'm not going to brush over the Juilliard audition, and I'm not going to brush over the When Calls the Heart audition. I want to know what the Juilliard audition was like, and what When Calls the Heart was. But why did you not quit? You were grinding it out, having terrible experiences. Like,
I'm really stubborn. I think that's part of it. Like, incredibly stubborn, and I didn't want to take no for an answer. And I didn't know of anything else that I wanted to do. Although I did say earlier that, looking back, maybe I could go into architecture, but that wasn't on my radar at the time. And I'd heard a lot of people say, if there's, okay, so you want to be an actor, great. If there's anything else that you want to do that. Don't be an actor. And I remember I would constantly ask myself that and be like, I really don't think I want to do anything else. I think this is the only thing that I want to do with my life. So that just kept me going. And I had some important people in my life that I really respected, who were encouraging to me when times were tough, and saying that they saw a future for me in that career, but that I had to just keep working and keep putting the time in. So I think that, coupled with my my stubbornness, and just how much I loved doing it kept me
Right.
going. But
So
it
you're,
was scary, man, really scary. Like
yeah,
there's no guarantee, you know?
I know.
And then at the end of the day, you have no skills. 10 years later, I've got no skills other than this. So
I know, man. I think
it's
I've had
hard.
640 auditions and 600 no's. I've only had 40
Mhm.
yeses, and that's a lot of freaking rejection. And you're right, along the way, I'm pretty stubborn too, in a sense, but I've had people along the way that were like mentors, or people that really believe. I had an acting teacher that just believed in me, and she's like, this is what you should be doing. And then
Yeah.
there's times when I totally doubted myself. I'd be like, she's a really good judge of this. Like, so I would like
Right.
leaned on her opinion over my own internal,
For
thoughts
sure.
about, yeah.
Me too.
Um,
I think
well,
I even wrote out some of the, like a couple phrases that people said to me who I really trusted. And I would go back to that when I
yeah,
was, you know,
yeah,
2 a.m. You're lying in bed at night going, what the hell am I doing with my life? And I'd remember what I wrote out that they'd said to me, and that would give me some comfort and encourage me to keep
yeah.
going.
Is there
Yeah.
any advice along the way that you got that you remember, that from like specific advice that really helped?
I don't remember the specific language that was used, but I think the theme behind them all were just to keep going. Like I know I had a coach who said, I asked him once, I said, hey man, should I just quit? Like, please be honest with me. Do you think I should stop doing this? And he laughed and he said, there's a lot of people that should be asking that question, but you're not one of them. And I was like,
Cool.
okay. Because there is, I mean, listen to a lot of motivational speeches and whatnot, and people are always like, don't quit, don't listen to the haters. If you're chipping away that with your ice pick at that wall,
Yeah.
and people are saying just walk away, do something else, and what they don't realize is you're 2 chips away from breaking through that wall. And I think there's a lot of merit to that, but I also think it can drive you insane if perhaps you want something so bad, but you're not necessarily equipped to succeed in that arena. Does that make sense? Like I was
Yeah,
always very self-conscious that I was like, I know that I love this a lot,
totally.
but loving it isn't enough to excel at it.
Yeah. Well, how does somebody,
I don't know.
how do you
You got to create a
decide, right?
balance.
Like,
It's hard. Yeah.
most people would have given up after maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years of
Yeah.
having that experience. But like, how does one know when they're being deluded?
I think you really have to have people that you can trust to be brutally honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
That, and maybe I just got lucky. I don't know.
Maybe it was just
luck does have a lot to do with it.
yeah. I mean, but isn't luck showing up repeatedly, doing the hard work consistently, in a sense? Like, you're a
Yeah.
lot more lucky when you put in the level of, had you not gone to any of those acting classes. Like, a lot of people ask me what they should do to be an actor. I'm like, just go to an acting class and you'll experience really viscerally all of it at once. Like the fear of
Mm-hmm.
looking bad, should I be doing this? Like, or you might just love it and it might light you up. But everybody, there's sure the odd 1% that don't need acting skill or whatever, but it's just like
Yeah.
it's the gym. Like, you go there, you play, you learn how to speak and express yourself and listen. Especially you learn how to listen in a good acting class.
Mm-hmm.
But well,
Mm-hmm.
so how was the Juilliard experience? Because I could imagine that being so freaking nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it was definitely nervous. Looking back on it now, I would do things completely differently than I did. I
Why?
was going,
Why? What do you mean? What would you
because
do different?
I was going through this phase where I thought you just have to believe in yourself. And I forget what, I feel like I was reading a book or something at the time that was inspiring me to like relax and feel like I was doing what I was meant to be doing or something like that. But in following that direction, I kind of went away a little bit from who I am as a person. And I think a school like Juilliard really looks for, who's this human? What are they all about? And I walked in there being like, I can do this, but it wasn't a representation of me, you know.
Right. You're like, be the ball.
Exactly. So it's no wonder that I'm not surprised that they didn't call me back. But it was a really cool experience just to walk through the halls, and they give you a tour, and I mean, so inspiring, the level of skill and talent in a place like that as you walk through and you pass the dance classes and watching the ballet dancers train, and you're just like, that's incredible. And then you walk down in the music rooms and you hear everybody kind of faintly playing on the other side, and they're doing their individual, they're practicing individually in the sound booths, or not sound booth, but the noise canceling practice rooms, and just so good. Feeling like I should be paying money to listen to these people play because they're so great.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, man. I went and I did my 2 monologues, and then they asked me to sing. I can't sing, but I know that I had prepped an a cappella song, and I think I got like 8 seconds into it, and they went, "Okay, thank you."
What was the?
Because I didn't need any more.
What was the song?
It was "Skinny Love" by Bon Iver.
Oh man, that's hard.
I didn't know if it was harder. Is it?
Oh, skinny love just last year. It's so will you sing us a little a cappella bit of that?
No. Sorry. I can't sing, man. No, I don't want to have to subject you guys to that. I really wish I could.
You can hold a spoon in your mouth, or a fork, we're not sure, a spork, and
conduct with,
and steal the show from two people pouring their heart outs and singing, and every photo and every comment is Chris in the background. I'll share a link in the show notes to a video where Chris was in our trailer and Kevin and I are playing some music, and you're just literally, you're conducting, you're eating.
Well, I didn't have anything else to offer. But
I don't know. We wanted you to come up and do the. We wanted you to come up and do the harmony on "Take a Load Off."
Oh.
And we were like, "You can do that third," and you're like, "Damn, no, I was at Juilliard and they told me I couldn't do it."
Yeah, like literally cut you off mid sentence or mid verse. So like, thank you. That's good. You don't need to continue.
So, how did you get the call for When Calls the Heart? And tell us about the chemistry read, and give us like the details of that, and then we're going to get into this season a little bit of When Calls the Heart, and you're coming on to the show and all that.
Sure. I actually auditioned twice for When Calls the Heart. Ooh, excuse me. I auditioned twice for it.
Excuse me. I sneezed. I don't know how you missed it. I sneezed so loud, and you didn't even say bless you.
What?
Did you miss
Clearly
it?
It's just in my own world. Sorry.
I sneezed.
Post bless you.
Thank you. Now I feel better. I was like, close call. Okay, continue.
Okay, so I read for it twice. First, I read for Lucas, and I'd moved to Los Angeles. I was living down there, and my new U.S. manager called and said, "Hey, there's this show. You might be familiar with it." And I was aware of it, coming from Vancouver. So I went for the audition, and I was a little late, and like it was a very hot day. I think I made some wrong turns. I feel like I told the guys on the Deck the Hallmark podcast that I got lost, which was kind of true, but also like I just made, how sometimes it's hard to judge the GPS and you think you're at one street, but you're actually the other one, or whatever, or vice versa. So you turn right and then realize that you're supposed to take the next one, and now you have no place, depending on the street, like you can't turn around, or it's one way, or all this stuff. So something like that happened, and I got super flustered, and I walk in there finally after finding a parking spot, and like sprint a block and a half down to the room, and I'm sweating and just a mess of nerves, and I go in and I just totally like wreck this audition. It was awful. It was really bad. I was not setting myself up for success.
Okay.
So then I was pretty mad at myself, because if you go in, if you're prepared, you go in, you do the best, not the best you can in terms of like you have, but like you do what you wanted to do, and you don't get a job, that's not on you. Like there's so many other factors that have nothing to do with you, right? But if you go in and you wreck it because you weren't prepared, or you caused yourself to be a mess of nerves, like that's your fault.
Yeah.
So I was pretty mad at myself for screwing up that opportunity. And then I think later that same week, I got a call from my Canadian rep saying, Canada Casting would like to see a tape of yours for this role of Nathan. So I thought, okay, this gives me another opportunity to read for this show in a more controlled environment. I'll tape it at home. I can take my time. I'm not going to be sweaty running, trying to get to the room on time. And I took extra time to prep that one. And I feel like I did a good job. Like I was happy with that tape. Sent that in. And then I feel like I didn't hear anything for a while, maybe 3 weeks, something like that. And then all of a sudden I got a call saying you're pinned for Nathan, and they want to do a chemistry read with you and Aaron. And it was in LA. So I was like, okay, all right, I got another chance here to go in person down here and figure this out. And so I did a whole warm-up routine that I used to do in my theater class. I did like a relaxation exercise for like 45 minutes, and then I did a body warm-up and vocal warm-up. And what that really does is just relaxes me so I can be 100% in my body and present. So after taking the time to do that and then leaving with lots of extra time to get where I needed to be.
Yeah.
I had a lost time contingency and game plan all worked out. I went, parked at the studio. I feel like went up to the lobby to check in, and I looked over and there was a poster with my face on it because it was a movie I'd done, a Hallmark movie I'd done recently. And the only one I'd done actually, but I was like right there in the lobby. And I remember looking at that, and that gave me a little bit of extra confidence because I was like, that's kind of cool. I was not expecting that. Would never think that would happen. So that was a little extra, like little pep.
Yeah.
And then I went in and did this chemistry read as Nathan with Aaron. And I met who was there? Our Alfonso, the showrunner, was there. Lori was in the room. Penny, the casting director. Michelle, I think Michelle was there. It's a little blurry, but there's a lot of friendly faces. A couple people, Bill Skyped in or whatever from New York, and it seemed to go very well. Again, I was relaxed, prepared, present, did what I wanted to do. Aaron was wonderful, felt great. And then just as I was about to leave, they said, "Hey, do you have a minute? Like, can you stick around?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have no job. I have nowhere to be." Like, of course, yeah, I can stick around. And they said, "We'd like you to read for Lucas. We just think you might be good for both of these guys." And so I said, "Sure, yeah, that's fine." And they gave me the sides, and I recognized them. It was the same sides. But I was like, maybe I could just take some time with these. And they're like, yeah, go for it. Take as much time as you need. So I went into the waiting room again. And I feel like I took 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, to really kind of immerse myself back in that scene, in those scenes, in that character, and went back in and had an opportunity to basically redo and fix what I had screwed up the month before with the same scenes. And again, I was feeling great. I was relaxed and prepped and present, and it went very well. And it was a lot of fun and felt good in the room. And then took off. And I think about a week later, maybe it was the weekend, that might have been a Friday. And then on the Monday, I got a call that, actually, you know what? Here's another story about that. I was looking at my bank account and doing some math and realizing that I didn't have enough money and I was going to have to go back home. I was like, this isn't going to work out. I think I have enough money to pay like 2 months more rent, maybe 3 months more rent here in LA. And I started freaking out, and I was like, I've worked 10 years to get to this point. I finally get my visa. I save up what I think is enough money to come down, and I'm going to have to go back with my tail between my legs after 8 months because I ran out of cash. And that's what I think, well, do I try and get a job on the table? But then if I get caught, I get, it's just not worth it. I wanted to do things legally, but my visa only permitted me to work as an actor. I didn't have permission to work in any other capacity. And I went and I took very cold shower because I was getting stressy and hot and sweaty. And then I came out and I had like 7 missed calls from all my reps. And I was like, that doesn't seem like a bad sign.
Right.
And then that's what they said when I called them back, and they linked this all together, linked everyone in, and Adam's like, well, it's good news when you miss a call from everybody multiple times. And I was like, okay, great. And they said, you booked Lucas, and congratulations. And I was like, oh, awesome. So that's the story.
Was that a surprise to you that you got Lucas, or were you expecting Nathan, or were you like, no,
I was hoping for Lucas. I just felt like I liked both characters thoroughly, and I would have been very happy to play either one. But there was I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a little part of me that was hoping it would be Lucas.
Yeah. What scene was it?
They were made up scenes. They don't exist.
Oh, they don't exist. No way.
Yeah. They were written specifically for the audition. But I love the Lucas scene. It was he and Elizabeth, and she was catching a stagecoach to Union City or something like that. And Lucas holds up the stagecoach, jumps in, and says, like, hey, you mind if I ride with you? And they already were off to a rough start. Elizabeth wasn't liking Lucas very much. And so he kind of forces his way to this, intimate cabin with her for a several-hour trip. And then and they start kind of testing each other. And she's testing him about books or something like that, and he's very well read, so he knows exactly what she's talking about, but he doesn't really let on to it, and then sort of starts to test her knowledge with it. And I just remember at the end there's this great button where you know what, I can't actually quite recall how it comes together, but it ends with a nice of Lucas like pretending to sleep, and then kind of like tossing out the name of the main character or something, and she's like, what, how do you know that? And he's like, oh yeah, because like clearly I've read it, and it's written by so and so, blah 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 blah. But it was a fun scene that allowed Elizabeth to put her own foot in her mouth for judging Lucas in the way that she did.
Cool. And so how has your experience been since then? Like when you first came to, Hope Valley, which is the mythical town that we all live in, that was Coal Valley at one point. Did you? A lot of people that come there say it has this magical kind of feeling. What's it been like for you to come to the set and to experience working in that environment? This is your 3rd season now, right? Or 2nd? 3rd.
We did 3, so this is 4 coming out. Done 3.
Nice.
4. Yeah. Well, it feels like a very safe place, if that makes sense. Like it's we know now all the crew, but even coming in at the beginning, like it didn't feel like an intimidating project. It's the set itself is very charming and welcoming. So it was nice. It felt like it felt easy, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
to kind of transition to be a part of it. Obviously a little bit nervous at first about joining a cast that's already been together for 5 years.
Yeah.
But I've said before that Aaron and Lori specifically were very, very welcoming, and want to make sure that Kevin and I both felt comfortable and at ease and whatnot. And then also starting with Kevin, I think he started like a couple weeks after, because his character Nathan came in the next block after Lucas did, but starting more or less at the same time together was also really nice, because we were the 2 new kids at school, and Kevin, as you know, is a great guy, and a pleasure to be around, and all the cast is really nice, and so is the crew. So I think in the scheme of things, like we were very lucky to join a show like that in terms of the people and their kindness. And you hear horror stories about some shows, and just how not necessarily horror. Well, some are horror stories, but other ones just cast not getting along.
Oh yeah,
people being tough to work with and stuff like that. And then there's none of that.
And people hate
everyone.
People hate each other, and our show loves each other. Like everybody enjoys being around you. There's directors that come on our set, and the directors are like, "This is the best experience I've ever had," because everyone kind of loves each other. And even some of the most successful shows, there's always egos where everyone's kind of like, and I think something about our show allows everybody to be at a similar kind of level of respect and love. And it's just like, yeah, it's a unique set. If not every, there's usually a lot of ego and infighting where people are like, I can't be there if that person's there, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your
Yeah.
biggest surprise since you've joined When Calls a Heart?
A biggest surprise?
Yeah.
I don't know. You mean to do with the show?
Sure. You're like, the fact that we had a global pandemic was a pretty big surprise.
Well, I mean, there's been so many things that have, it's like the show that keeps on going.
Yeah.
It kept going after Dan left.
Yeah.
And then it kept going after Lori left. And then it kept going through COVID. And now it's still going after Lucas is chosen.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about this, because a lot of the fans watching most of them probably tuning in are your biggest fans, and they're really happy that Elizabeth and Nathan are the couple. And then there's probably going to be a chunk of people that are sitting here with daggers in their eyes, just waiting for you to say something wrong. And I really want to what was your experience with the Hearties? Like, because I know, you actually experienced a live Hearty event before COVID where we had a family reunion. And so no other show I've been on has fans like this. So what's been your experience of the Hearties so far?
Well,
we can say up to the finale. We can say, and then that's after the finale, we can talk about a whole other world.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that I've been pleasantly surprised with how positive the Hearties are. They've I have friends on other shows that don't receive the same kind of nice comments that we do. So they've always been very, very supportive, very warm, heartfelt, and genuine, and really passionate about how much they care about the show, and people coming from all over the place at the reunion, all over the States, Europe. I remember a few tables that came from Australia. So they've been the best, and they're also the reason the show keeps going.
Yeah,
is if the Hearties aren't watching, then that hurts the power of the show. So they've been wonderful. And then the end of season 8 was the first time I felt the wrath of some of the Hearties. And it switches quickly. Not everybody, I know that there's a group of people who are very vocal, but it did take a little bit of recalibrating for me, because everyone has been nothing but supportive. Right? I mean, mind you get the odd once in a while somebody saying something weird, but it's just 1 out of 1,000 or whatever. But this was like a wave of hate. And I mean, I laugh about it now. People writing me and being like, "You're awful." Another one I thought was funny was, "You're a pretty good actor. Why don't you just get a job on another show?"
Right. What's some other things you heard, both good and bad?
Well, I mean, people who were rooting for Lucas, very supportive, and we've been Team Lucas since the beginning. He's always pushed Elizabeth to be a better person. He cares about her well-being more than his own. Those things to that nature. Cares about the town. And then there's the negative of, you lied to us, you've misled us. You've manipulated us for ratings. Just all this stuff. And I don't know. I mean, shows need ratings, otherwise they won't survive. So on the one hand, when people are like, it was all about the ratings are important. They're not writing, I don't think people were trying to purposely mislead anybody. I think they were trying to create an engaging drama, right? Like, you don't have a story without conflict.
Right.
What would happen? It's not interesting. You need to be engaged because of conflict, or the conflict is what engages you, makes you care. So clearly people cared. But yeah, that was my first time feeling the
Feeling
hate wave.
is there anything you'd like to say to the haters?
Well, I'll say that I totally understand wanting Elizabeth to end up with Nathan. I think that the writers did a great job of setting up two viable characters for Elizabeth to eventually settle down with. I think he's a great guy. He's got awesome characteristics. He's charming. He's caring. Compassionate. He's brave. He's all these wonderful things. I'll say that I really didn't. I don't think that nobody intentionally lied. I didn't do that. Hold on, I gotta take some water.
And not necessarily the haters too. Let's reframe it as anything you want to say to those who really, really wanted Nathan and they say they're never gonna watch When Calls a Heart again, but somehow they found their way to this podcast because they just wanted to learn more about the guy who plays the character that crushed their dreams.
Well, I mean, Nathan's not leaving he's not leaving Hope Valley, right? Like your character is still there, and it's become a story that is about the community. And I notice a lot of people writing like, "Hey, this story isn't about the books anymore. Like what happened? It's changed. And I'm not going to watch anymore because this Jeanette Oak's story was about a Mountie and a school teacher." But I mean, that story hasn't been told since Jack left, right? Like the story is not all of a sudden different. It started to change 3 years ago. So I read that and just think, I don't agree with that perspective. I think that it's been a different show for a while.
Right.
And also, a lot of people too, I think, have said, why doesn't Lucas spend enough time with baby Jack? Like Nathan really does. And Lucas had scenes with baby Jack and they got cut. It just didn't, they're not in the final scene. They're not. So, I mean, they were there, they were written there, but due to time, for whatever reason, they were gone. We also filmed less with them, with the kids, all of them, because of COVID.
Sure.
Yeah. I should have written these down because now that I'm put on the spot, I'm having trouble thinking of them.
No.
When I sit there at night and twiddle my thumbs, I'm like, and this, and that, and this, and that.
Well, and this is the reason we were risking our lives in a global pandemic so we could bring these stories to the screen, and which is really a miracle. Like our show was one of the first back, and we made it through with that big of a cast without any shutdowns, and and there's different comments I read because they come across my thread too, just about, my character possibly leaving town and, Martin Cummings' character leaving town. And what the audience doesn't understand is like, without drama and conflict, it's boring. And they think they want everything buttoned up and pretty and sweet and cute, like a puppy dog, like knitting, but that's not really, it's about good storytelling. And at the end of every season, our characters have to go do something, like, and it's like Martin's leaving, Aaron and Aaron's character, Claire and Jesse are leaving on a vacation, and everyone leaves Hope Valley so they can like come back. But it's and when we start a new season, we start off with something that has happened and now they're here, and it's like a previous a circumstance that was just before. But so much of what I'm hearing from what you're sharing too is there's very little that's up to us too. Like as actors, we're given stuff to do and say, and we have some input into how our character would approach it. But there's so much bigger things going on, and the biggest player, like you said, was the pandemic that would keep you from doing scenes with the kids. The kids were barely there. None of the kids were barely there. They were busy doing their Zoom school and stuff. Like it was a really odd year, but I know a lot of the fans that say they'll never watch it again. They were a lot more angry when Jack left the show, when Daniel Lissing left the show. So these are a very resilient group, and the loudest of them are unfortunately the most, it's a very small group, but they seem big because what they say is very disrespectful. I think, especially to the writers and to other actors like you
Hmm.
and to the network. And it's like that, but it's a very small group and they're very loud. And unfortunately,
They're very loud.
with platforms like Twitter, though, Chris,
Yeah.
it seems like they're the majority because they're so they retweet and reshare, but the Hearties are in love with Hope Valley. They're in love with the feeling that town gives them on a Sunday. And yeah, this year there
Yeah.
was a lot more conflict for sure. But it's like, I think John Tinker did the best that he could with what he was given with our pandemic, and our schedules were weird and
Yeah.
all that.
I agree. And after that initial wave, it's returning to, or the positivity, that negativity is subsiding. And I've gotten more messages than I ever have about how, happy people are, and how much they love the show and how much the show means to them. And I especially like when people write saying that, there's been a lot of instances where people have been going through a tough time, and this show has helped them get through that. And that means a lot.
Yeah.
Which actually, and it's important, that resonates with me. That's important to me. Which brings me to one more hater comment that I forgot about. It was somebody, so after that episode, the final episode, experienced all the vitriol that was coming at us, and knowing, we work hard for what we do, and I'm not trying to be like a victim in any sort. We worked hard during the season, and so it initially was, it stings a bit when people are like, "Oh, I hate you. I hate all this. Hate what you're doing. I'm never going to watch the show again." And so I said something like, I sent out a tweet saying something like, "I love how passionate you guys are, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they don't want to or may not return to watch the show, and you will be missed," which is true if they actually don't come back. I'm hoping that most will, but that we look forward to doing the next season for the people who will be back.
Yeah.
And there was somebody who answered saying like, saying how condescending that is. You don't even care, like, Chris, you don't care. And I'm reading like, who are you to tell me that I don't? How do you know that I don't care? Because I care more than most. I would say I care a lot. There's an abundance of actors out there who go do their job and leave, and they could care less what happens to the show, right?
It's
They
true.
go, it's just a job for them. I actually am emotionally invested in it. I really care about it. But I just like, I gotta, as much as it was stoked a fire in me, it's also comical how people assume that, right? Like, what evidence do you have to make that statement that I don't care? None. It's something you're projecting onto us. Does that make sense?
For sure. And I mean, most actors wouldn't even tweet with the show or be there answering comments. And our cast is unique because our fans are unique, and there's not a lot of engagement on other shows with the fans. And I think our cast and our fans have a bit of a relationship with one another, and it's and so anyway, I'm sorry that you've had to
it's fine.
I've read some of them, and I'm like,
I like that they're fired up. They care about it.
They do care. But if those were directed at me, I mean, you got to really know who you are, like, to be able to just, it's not personal. They're just fired up about a fictitious character in a fictitious world.
Yeah.
And I get it though. People, this has been their world for a decade, and they have a vision of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And when people don't get what they want, you start to see their colors.
But here's something though. Sorry to cut you off, but it's popped into my head now because I've felt extremely passionately about some shows that didn't go my way. Like Game of Thrones, for instance. I love Game of Thrones, and I felt very strongly about how Game of Thrones ended. But I never thought to personally tweet any of the actors involved and express how mad I was at them. You know what I mean? Because it's not.
Well, not just
they have
mad.
nothing to do with it.
Not mad, but almost like shaming, or like it's like stuff you would never let your child get away with in the tone of what they're saying, but towards like
Right.
the
Well, part of the
writer,
veil of Insta or sorry, I keep cutting you off.
hidden behind the anonymity of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
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 I know what you mean. Or when Game of Thrones killed off your favorite characters in the first 3 episodes, you're like, what?
They were notorious. I've never been so stressed as I was watching that show, because I'm literally like, my favorite character could die at any point because you've already done it 4 times. You
I
just
know.
kill everybody.
I know. And it makes for great television. It makes, and like I said, people think they want it predictable. And the romantic the movies we do always will be formulaic in a sense that people can go there. But with the serialized television, it will die if you don't keep it filled with conflict and triangles and showing something and then revealing something else. It's like it's storytelling in serialized
Yeah.
television like that. We wouldn't have another season if it had been I'm glad that conflict will bring in new viewers and really can have the fan base grow in a different way.
It's also part of the journey, right? You have a longer journey with episodic TV. And so Elizabeth's character kind of going back and forth between everybody wasn't necessarily to be misleading to the audience. It was the fact that her character was going through this journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And it took her a while. It took her a while to figure out where she wanted to be. And sometimes I think the focus is the perspective shifted away from that and onto, you deceived us as an audience. And it was this character trying to figure her life out. And again, it took a while.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a big decision.
But nothing but love for these Hearties, even the angry ones. Like, it's understandable. And all I can request is that they speak in words that you would want your kids to speak with. Like be kind for cracking necks. You can have you can be upset about it, but there's a way of saying it that doesn't assassinate somebody's talent and their intentions. It's really, it is jarring. And I commend you, man. Like, I don't know if I'd be as calm or as like, we all care. Everybody on our show cares. I mean, not everybody. I don't think Martin Cummings would read someone's tweet about his character. He'd probably, he's too, he's got a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
But
well,
now
again, I cared for a quick 30 minutes, and then I realized it's all good.
Yeah,
people just voice it, and then I'm happy. I'm really happy that we have a show that had, like over 3 million viewers for the season finale. Like, that's massive. That so many people care about the show enough to tune in like that. That's great. And so what a small percentage of them are vocal on Twitter, but
that's fine. It's fine. And it's
appreciative of everybody who's watching and allowing the show to continue so we can keep telling these stories. Yeah.
And the ratings wouldn't be that great if the show wasn't reaching a lot of people. And it's just the ratings keep getting stronger and stronger. And so I think it's a good sign.
Yeah.
So now on that note, we're going to end with some fan questions. This has been really great, man. Catching up to you. I don't think you and I've ever talked directly this long because life is busy. And when you and Kevin came to the show, it was actually a really good thing for me. But even though, like, cause I enjoy when we get to hang out, it was tough during the pandemic, but when we all get together, it's hard for me to be away from my LA and my family and everybody. So it's always been good. I'm really happy that you're on the show. So if the haters ever get vocal, just know that I'm really happy you're there.
Thanks, Paul. I've noticed during the pandemic that Zoom and stuff like that is actually a way to successfully to connect with people in a way that you don't necessarily get if you're in person. I mean, I love being I would rather hang out with you in person and chat in person, but there's a directness to the camera that forces you to be completely centered on the other person in ways that you can often get distracted in group settings or in reality, right? So I feel like it's a forced connectivity that really allows you to connect to each other.
I've really enjoyed it too. I find it's an interesting, like, you're right. If we were sitting next to each other on the sofa, we'd go play a record, we'd make a drink,
exactly.
We'd go for a walk, we'd take the dogs out, but rarely
we'd cover left's ground.
Yeah, cover way less ground. We'd cover
in
like
terms
20
of
minutes of what we've
communication.
covered. Well, let's go to a couple of these fan questions. I think you're going to really, I'm going to real time because they keep coming in. There's so many, dude. It's
Wait,
crazy.
people are watching. This is live?
No, 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 no.
I mean,
Well, you could.
it
I
doesn't
could have
make a difference,
streamed. No,
but
no, I could have streamed this to like Facebook Live, but I didn't. That's a good idea. I've never thought of doing that. But then you know what it does is it takes away from the viewership on the podcast and then later on YouTube. But let me get to a couple of these questions. So this is from Lynn A. Snow. She says, please tell him how wildly entertaining how entertained by your background shenanigans when Kevin and I did the concert in the trailer. So that's Lynn Snow.
thank you, Lynn.
Okay, so she loves your light beard. How can I find this? Anything Chris can share us about his romantic plans? Anything you can share about your romantic plans with Elizabeth? This is from Celeste Cummins.
Well, I personally don't have any romantic plans with Elizabeth. Lucas may, but I don't know what they are.
But you don't. Right.
I don't know. I haven't talked to John Tinker yet about the next season. So I don't know what he has in store. I'm sure he has some plans. I've got a couple ideas, but I don't want to toss anything out there that might get people excited and doesn't end up in the show. So I am as excited as you are about finding out. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing about us as actors. You find out later. You find out just before you film sometimes.
Yeah.
But she says, let Chris know how much we love him. And by him, she means Lucas and you. And she loves your beard. She just loves your beard. She loves your beard.
Excellent.
Patty Bowen says, was Chris surprised when they changed the season 8 finale and made Lucas Elizabeth's choice instead of Nathan? I know the fans were shocked.
Awesome. Amazing comment. At the end of the day, I just want to, I want to tell the best story for Hope Valley. And if that's what they think, if that's what John Tinker and the network thinks offers the most possibilities and the best springboard point for the show, then I'm on board.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So this is from Kathy Sleninsky. She said, do you have anything coming up, like what you've been doing in the off seasons other than When Calls a Heart? And she asked if you've been speaking to John Tinker, which we know you haven't yet, but do you have any other plans coming up between now? Do you have another Hallmark picture coming out or something like
that? I do, but I feel like it's too early to talk about it. There's, just in case some things change. But yes, hopefully there is one coming out that I'm quite excited to do. Should nothing get coming up and dismantle the project. And that we will start that in about 3 to 4 weeks. So when do you air this? When do you put this out?
Right away. Like
right away. Okay.
Yeah, I put it out.
Yeah, when I'll answer that question more.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks, once I know things are certainly
cool.
Going to happen for sure. But yeah, I certainly hope so, and I'm like 99% sure that this will happen.
Great. I can always add it to the show notes, and then when I put it on YouTube, I can put a little thing. So this is from Kayanne. She's wondering if the negative comments are getting to you, and we've already covered that. And she said she hopes not. Look, and you are a great actor and very handsome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And this is Betty Sue Smith. She wants to know about your family, dog, and pets. What kind of dogs do you? What kind are your dogs again? They're rescue, right?
Yeah, they're rescues, and we did a little cheek swab on them because we didn't know what they were. The shelter didn't know. They kind of threw a couple breeds out there, what they were guessing they were, but it turns out in reality they are primarily Pitskis, Pitty Husky mixes, with a little bit of Collie, Staffy, and German Shepherd, but just a tiny portion of that.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so there are little California street dogs.
And it's Bowie and
Charlie.
Right.
Yeah.
And Betty Sue Smith also wants to know who would be your actress of choice if you were to do a brand new movie. Is there an actress that you just have to work with? That's always an odd question, right? It always feels like you feel a little creepy. Like if someone's like, oh, I really want to work with this, because it's a little, I don't know about you, but when I get, it's not a creepy question,
Yeah.
Betty Sue Smith, but it feels a little bit dirty to answer it because, like, I don't know, it's almost like, and not really, but it's, you're like choosing your fake girlfriend for 3 weeks. It's like,
Oh, was it for a Hallmark movie?
yeah.
Because I was thinking like, I mean, Natalie Portman would be great.
Oh, okay. Well, it just said, actually, it just says new movie. It doesn't say
All right. So
any movie.
oh man, I blank on situations like, this reminds me of, I did an interview and somebody asked me this question, but in terms of Hallmark, and my mind, how sometimes you can feel your brain just stop.
Totally. Like
Right?
just go like this.
Like the wheels they're not turning. And the more you think about the fact that your wheels aren't turning, the kind of more rigid they get. And you're like, this isn't good. This isn't going anywhere. This is reminding me of how I used to feel when every time I would take a test in high school and I'd read the same question over and over and over, but like not actually retain it. And then again, just start sweating. But anyway, I threw out Amelia Ullerup because I had done a Hallmark movie in a small capacity. It was a tiny part, but she was the lead. So I said Amelia Ullerup, and then I feel like in the future that was hit on multiple times, being like, so Chris, we know that you'd really love to work with Amelia Ullerup, and like she's your favorite Hallmark star. And mind you, I would love to work with Amelia Ullerup, but I kind of laughed to myself how it was sort of a panic answer that wasn't necessarily well thought out. But then all of a sudden that was like, who Chris wants to work with. So I will say I'd be happy to work with any of the lovely people at Hallmark in the future.
There you go. That's keeping it safe. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I feel like all the ladies do a great job.
Yeah, but who would you not want to work with? I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's an easy one. No, I'm kidding.
Paul Greene. This
no,
Christine,
I like working with you, Paul.
Yeah, I like we only get like one scene in like an episode or a series, but or at least two. We had
a good one. The last one though.
Yeah, you're great. You're. I really loved
scene.
I liked our scene too. I like that. I feel like you're really finding the depth of Lucas too, and there's a groundedness to you this season that I've noticed in your acting. That's I really enjoy watching.
Well, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, buddy.
I try and constantly improve, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm still learning. I think we're always learning, but actively trying to do a better job every chance I get.
It shows, man. And I think that's also the fans that are watching that can so quickly comment on, I don't think that they realize necessarily the amount of dedication that no matter what show it is, a lot of actors are where they are because of, like you said, a decade of rejection. And then you get to another place, and there's a lot of commitment and a lot of love that we have for this craft. And you know what? It's just online comments too. So it's like, it's very easy for people to anonymously say that, but the majority of the Hearties are really beautiful, loving, amazing people. And that's from my experience.
I agree.
Anyway. And Christine here, Gallant, once said that social media hasn't been kind. And she says, apologies are certainly needed. And she says that just know that When Calls a Heart, the cast and crew are beyond amazing and that she loves you guys. So this is Christine Gallant. Let's see. Oh, and this is Adalia Ortiz says that she doesn't have a question, but she really loves Lucas with Elizabeth, and your performance in the finale was so beautiful and so touching that she just can't wait for season 9. And why didn't you spend more time with baby Jack? No, I'm just kidding. That's not that's not in there. COVID. I said COVID. Okay, here we go. It says a lot about Nathan and Elizabeth and you also. Here we go. People are hoping Carson's not going anywhere. Now,
what's the deal with that? You haven't talked to John? I guess you can't give away spoilers.
Yeah, I haven't personally spoken with John. Just like we just never know what's going on, man. Like, I mean, we think we know, but there's a lot of even if I did know, I probably wouldn't share it at this point because I
Of course.
haven't been cleared or whatever. So I have no idea. I can't clearly say I'll be back next year, and I can't clearly say that I won't. Um, Christine, on the other hand, wants to know if you prefer suits, Lucas, to everyday casual clothes, and will we ever get to see a more relaxed Lucas in season 9? She just loves you, Chris, and she's very happy that Lucas and Elizabeth are together. Yeah, do you like your button-up suits, or would you rather be more casual?
I like the suits. I think they're fun.
They are
I
fun.
thoroughly enjoy them. Aaron mentioned to me that there's been some discussion about Lucas needing a more casual get-up. And if they decide to do that, great. I personally think he should just get even more fancy.
Yeah,
I
I love the fancy on you. I think it suits your character. How did you ever
I enjoy it.
convince Hallmark to let you keep a beard? I want to know your
Okay. Well,
This is-
the first when I first joined,
this is my question.
I really like your mustache. You and Kevin both grow excellent mustaches, and they look great on you guys.
I appreciate that. And it's kind of
Very handsome.
I did it for a character called Norman, who's a Republican that's found his way. And I did a pilot when I was out here that looks like it's going to be bought.
Awesome.
And my character's a MAGA hat wearing Republican, but he's in a hippie commune, and he's the most woke. Even though everyone there is supposedly woke, but Norman's kind of super woke in his own way. It's called We Woke, the pilot.
Okay.
And then I did it for my character, and I got to help create my character a bit. And then anyway, I just I occasionally bring Norman back, and I enjoy it too.
So to answer your question about the beard,
yeah.
I feel like there was talk of would you shave? We want you clean cut, and I feel like I always have to fight to keep it, because my reason for keeping it on when calls is that I look 23 if I'm clean shaven. Like I become very much baby faced, and I just didn't feel like, I'm not 23, but I didn't feel like character wise it would work. I feel like he would look too young. So I wanted to keep the age bracket in a similar zone, and then that's why I had the kind of short. I like it, but we got to clean it up, make it short. And then during the pandemic, when we were on lockdown, I just decided to let my beard grow and look like a homeless person for fun. And then I went and got it trimmed up by a barber, and
I like it.
I took some photos. Thank you. Actually, not this one.
Oh, the other version.
Yeah, like starting on when calls, and I took some photos of it. I wonder if this will get me in trouble, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So I took some pictures of my beard, and I sent it to John Tinker, and I said, "Hey, just want to let you know, I'm assuming that we're gonna take all this off and go back to the short, kind of shadow beard that we had before. But I have this, and I feel like it's period appropriate right now. Just FYI." And he wrote back, "I love it. Let's keep it." So I thought, great, that was easy. And then I went for the first day on when calls, and I go into makeup, and Denise's like, "Oh, bud, your beard's looking full there, man. Like, what are we gonna do?" And I said, "Well, John said we can keep it." And she goes, "Okay." And I think her and Pam were thinking, great. Do you know if he checked with the producers? And I was like, I don't. I mean, I assume so. And they're like, okay, well, maybe we should take some photos and send them to Vicky just in case. And I was like, all right. So they took a couple photos. I go off, get a set. We shoot the master. We get halfway through my coverage, and all of a sudden, phones start blowing up. What is going on with Lucas's beard? Lucas's beard is too long. You have to shave it. What are you doing? And Mike, the director, was like,
yeah,
really? We've already, like, how do I make up this time in the day? We've already been working. Why wasn't this decided ahead of time? So I don't know. I don't want to speculate where
I remember
things
that
were said or not, but at the end of the day, that's how Lucas ended up having a longer beard for the first 2 episodes, because we shoot it 2 episodes at a time, and then it was cut
it looked good both ways, but it looked on camera. things always look a little better, a little bit more groomed anyway. So I don't know. I always hate it when they make me shave, and then when I see it later, I'm like, it actually looks like on camera, it just like stubble kind of looks okay in real life, but on camera, you sometimes look dirty, like you look like you forgot to
Right.
shower. But your
Yeah.
beard, it's working for you,
Well,
man.
thanks. I
You,
feel like I actually don't like the way that the beard ended up in, if I'm being totally candid, towards the end of the season. I feel like, no, really, I feel like the mustache is so thick. And now if you're watching this podcast and you go back and watch some episodes, you're going to be like, yeah, it's all you're going to be able to see.
like thick this way or outwards?
Just no, like it just, I have a thick mustache, and
Yeah.
we were trimming it on the bottom, but not necessarily thinning it. And I felt like it grows at a different rate than the rest. So all I can see is just this big caterpillar on my upper lip. And now I do my beard myself, and I make sure that I kind of keep it thinned up
There you go.
here
There you
and
go.
shape down here. And I feel like it's a much better balance.
I think
But
it's
it's
great.
forever imprinted in When Calls the Heart history as
Yes.
the caterpillar mustache.
Right. The caterpillar big makeout scene at the end there. That was a pretty hefty scene, kiss for Hallmark, I'll say. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Man. That's pretty,
Well,
you guys went for it.
They also, I mean, I think Aaron and I were looking at that scene like this is the boiling point of almost 2 years in the making. You know, they met 3 years ago, but that first season 6 wasn't really necessarily a triangle. It was sort of introducing characters, kind of getting to know one another, and then realizing towards the end that there's maybe some interest, and then examining that interest in season 7, and then season 8 having the stakes be high of, you know, this is, you should make a decision. Who is it that you would like to engage in a relationship with? So I feel like after that amount of time, like your moment where you both are on board, and especially with the heightened emotion of the circumstances surrounding that scene, it should be a big kiss moment. You have a lot more lead up than you would in an hour and a half Hallmark movie, for instance, right?
For sure.
So
yeah.
So yeah, that's where we were coming.
It was good. You guys did great. You guys, and this is, you know, Shelley Merrill says that, you know, she was leaning towards Nathan for Elizabeth. Did I lose you?
No. When you said Shelley, I just went to a crew member.
No,
sorry,
this is
jump there.
No, this is Shelley Merrill, a fan of yours. She was leaning towards Nathan Elizabeth, but she's ultimately a When Calls the Heart team. When Calls the Heart. She's excited about it. She's ultimately team When Calls the Heart, and she's excited about season 9, and glad that me, Paul, and you, Chris, are a part of Hope Valley. I just love the positive ones. It's like they were raised well.
Yeah.
I think I'm so done with it. Okay, that's not so positive. Let me leave that one.
Oh, read it.
I don't think it's about When Calls the Heart. Someone was replying to that. I'm so done with it. Why questions on season 9 storyline? I don't know. Someone's upset that they're asking season 9 storylines. I'm not going to say their name. I don't want to call them out. Hey, Chris, do you like being one of Hallmark's hunks of Hope Valley because you are at exclamation point?
Well,
What's it like to be one of the hunks of Hope Valley, Chris?
Well, I don't see myself as one, or think about it like that. So I don't know.
You know, you're hunky. She's shush.
No, it's like, I don't really. I feel complimented and flattered that people think that way, but I don't have that view of myself. And I think if I maybe did feel like that, I might not be as grounded as you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. But I mean, you got to look in the mirror once in a while and Chris be like, all right, I'm having a good day. Come on. Come on, Chris. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this.
Are nice.
I'm looking at this face here, and you're telling me you don't see that.
I recognize that.
You're blushing. It's okay.
I'm not an unattractive person, I suppose.
There we go.
But
there we go.
And I don't know. It's about how you feel about yourself on the inside, though. Does that make sense? And I go through phases. A lot of it has to do with mental clarity. Like if I went through a few months during lockdown where I was just feeling like garbage about myself, just because I wasn't working out. I felt unhealthy, sluggish, gross, and so I could then start training, start working out, not necessarily have a change in my body because you don't change overnight, but all of a sudden feel great with clarity and feel uplifted because my mind is clear because I've started exercising. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I almost went over the fact that you're a black belt in Taekwondo. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
A double.
Well, I've
3. How many black belts have you got?
4.
You have 4?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a sec. I feel like our whole podcast should have been about this. Wait a second. You're telling me you have 4 black belts in Taekwondo.
Yeah. Don't mess around, Paul.
This is and you just that blow. What do you mean you don't know? That blows my freaking mind. How much discipline and how much mad respect. How did that happen and why?
Well, I go because I feel like the organization I was a part of when I was training was great when I started. And I think it kind of became a money-making machine towards the end. So I think I worked really hard. I trained really hard and I was very competitive and would go around the States and compete within that organization. But I feel like at the end, they just started handing out black belts to anybody who was paying their monthly fees. So I feel like that's cheapened the title of 4th degree black belt. Does that make sense?
Nobody would have known that, Chris. Nobody would have known you.
Yeah, but it's true, and it's also in it was in point style Taekwondo, not Olympic style. So I just feel like in the realm of martial arts, it's probably the least impressive 4th degree black belt that you could do. But
shush.
But it started because I really liked it. I've always liked. I don't know. I've always liked sports and martial arts for some reason stuck out to me as just resonating with me for some reason. I like the discipline. I like the mentality that comes along with it. Yeah. Love the Karate Kid when I was little, and and Martin actually from One Calls the Heart got me involved in jiu-jitsu with him and Ben Rosenbaum. So the 3 of us would go and roll a few times a week back before COVID came around, and that was great because it's a whole different sport. But I'd love to one day do I'd love to be able to use some of those skills in a story, in a movie of some sort. Though I will say I'm not as flexible as I used to be. I used to be able to do the splits or kick straight up above my head like that, and this is just not going to happen anymore.
But how great would an action film be where you can use all of that technical? Because I worked with Laura Vandervoort, who's a double black belt in karate, I think, though.
See, that to me holds more merit than my 4th degree, but
you're so self-deprecating. What's so self-deprecating?
No, I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. I'm trying to be realistic.
Okay.
It's like folks who are actually, again, involved in that community would understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
That's respect. I respect your honesty, because it's easy just to be like, yeah, it's quite the thing to say you have 4 black belts in anything, so when I know you like books, and when I was at your house you were reading a book, and Christine Morelli, by the way, I'm glad I remembered to ask you about the audition of When Calls the Heart and your Taekwondo, because you mentioned it earlier and I remember you telling me, but I don't remember you having 4. So that's amazing. That's not online. So there's something that you didn't. Did you tell the other podcast that the Hallmark guys that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, people are gonna. I think they'll be excited to learn that. I was excited. So I know you like books. Christine says, "Are you into literature as your character is? And if so, do you have a favorite author or a book or memorable piece that you like?"
Well, my most favorite book that I've read recently is Station 11, and HBO Max is making it into a series. And I feel bad because I can't remember. Oh, it's not over there. I can't remember the author right now, and it's on a different bookshelf, so I
Okay.
can't tell you right now. But it's called Station 11, and I happened to read it right before COVID, and it's coincidentally about a disease that comes in, an airborne illness that has a really high fatality rate and ends up wiping out something like 98% of the population. And so it tracks multiple periods in time, from just prior to that, even a little bit before that, to 5 years after, 10 years after, 15, 20. And it follows several different characters throughout this journey and how they're intertwined. And it's a fascinating book. I think it's beautifully written. It's a crazy journey, and it personally, I think, holds more weight for me because some of the main characters are a part of a traveling caravan of actors that are doing Shakespeare. So in the future, when everything is, people are living in little communities and whatnot, and this caravan goes from community to community and tries to keep the old arts alive, doing Shakespeare for these
I love
for
that.
these townsfolk. And it's great. It's good. I recommend it.
Emily St. John is the author. Emily St. John.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Well, man, I could go. There's literally 600 questions, but we're at a reasonable time here. This might be close to my longest. I've gone close to 2 hours, but this is I mean, I was on a little bit before, just doing some testing, but this has been awesome, man. I've really loved hearing the details of the little things that I didn't know about you. I think fans are gonna be excited to hear those things too, because you are a private guy.
Yeah, I am, but I'm happy to talk to you on here and do this. And thanks for asking me to hang out.
Yeah, you didn't answer me for like 3 weeks, and I was like, well, I guess I'll just
I
go to my
actually,
next choice.
no, dude, I was gonna say that when I was gonna comment on how bad I am with my phone when we were talking about social media, and that it doesn't occur to me to to Instagram or post or whatever. I'm also just in general terrible with it because I forget to answer text messages. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is about me. I get focused on something, or if I'm talking with somebody, and messages come through, like I want to be engaged in that person, but then I often forget to go back in and catch up and respond. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, like in that case, a month goes by. I think it was a month. And then you texted Kevin and I about something else. I was like, oh my God, I haven't answered him.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I think I texted you guys a video of my mom reading this When Calls a Heart
Yeah.
script, and she's like saying, I don't really like
So
Lucas.
sweet.
Yeah, she's like, Lucas is a little rough around the edges. And my mom's,
Yeah.
she's sweet.
It was really adorable how she describes Nathan in that.
I know.
Because she's so gentle when she says it, right? And she's like, he's just the most gentle, kind. I can't remember the other adjectives.
Yeah. Loving. Yeah. My mom's
Has she changed her mind, or does she still feel that way?
she just loves the show. She, her son's on it, and she enjoys she enjoys the whole experience of Little House on the Prairie 2.0. Do you meaning like she watched literally? My mom watches Little House on the Prairie and Touched by an Angel, which is another Michael Landon one, I think, and then this show. Like, those are her 3 favorite shows. So
that's awesome.
She's just happy to have a show that she enjoys, that's like that her kids on.
But my mom likes to watch When Calls the Heart too.
Yeah, I bet she does.
Yeah.
So is there any so we can't talk about your movie, but is there any, if people want to follow you, what's your social media thing? And I'll put it in the show note too.
Yeah, my Instagram is at Chris McNally, and you can expect a picture about once a month when I remember I haven't posted anything, and the occasional comical stories of my dogs. And then Twitter is at Chris McNally, but then with an underscore after McNally, because alas, someone beat me to my name. Someone else. Another Chris McNally is out there. So yeah, those are my 2 socials. Yeah. And
great.
Yeah.
Great, man. Well,
hopefully I'll be able to tell you about the movie. Hopefully that goes through.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go do a little episode of Riverdale next week.
Are you
Which could
really?
be fun.
How cool is that?
Yeah, but it's just
a guest.
Yeah, it's a guest star. But I don't know if they labeled it as a guest star, but I got the script, I read through it, and I feel like I'm only in 2 or 3 scenes, so it'll be a small guest star, but it'll be fun to work on a different project, because I've been doing in the Hallmark world for a while now, and I'm looking forward to stepping out and doing something with CW. Just a change of pace, change of scenery, change of vibe, and all that. So if any of you Hearties watch Riverdale, don't blink, but you might miss me.
Yeah. Those fans
see me in season 5.
Those fans are big. Martin Cummings got a big fan base over there too.
Yeah.
Well, lots of love to you, man. I hope to see you soon. Hopefully I'll be back over your way, and we'll come and I want to experience one of your margaritas again.
Oh man, we'll do a mezcal margarita.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
that would be great.
Thanks so much for being here.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, I just want to thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Chris McNally. Hope you got to learn a little bit about him. If you were Team Nathan, hopefully you found out some things about Chris that maybe you didn't know. And hopefully, as everybody is wishing, that you will remain a Hearty, even if your man didn't get the girl. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I do live concerts here on Fridays, and on Sundays, for now, it's on Facebook, 3 o'clock, 2:33. And so, yes, so this is also a podcast series on iTunes called The Grass is Greener with Paul Greene. So please go over there, rate and review and all that. And I look forward to bringing you more really great conversations. I know I'm really enjoying them. I hope you are. And just want to thank you for your generosity and your understanding and your compassion. And I just want to remind you to be kind and gentle and loving and tender to yourselves in your thoughts on purpose. And that fear is just the absence of love. So thanks so much for being here on The Grass is Greener, and please share this video. You can like it, subscribe, turn on the bell so you know when I get put a new one up of some great guests coming down the line here. And this wouldn't be happening without you, so I just really appreciate you. And we will see you very, very, very soon. All right, God bless. Till soon. Bye.